what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
All right, hello and welcome to another episode of I Guess I'll Do It with Pat House, a mostly comedy podcast where I mostly talk to comedians, but every now and then I let some other guests join me. And today I have one of those other guests, a very good friend of mine, very talented musician. We've known each other for years. We'll get all into it right now. Today I have Tim Williams.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you for being here, man.
I've heard this podcast plenty of times, so it's weird seeing it in 3 dimensions, sitting in this room with you.
Well, what is weird is that I think this is episode 64 or 65, and this is the second face-to-face interview.
How about, what do you normally do over Zoom? What do you do?
Over not something Zoom-like.
Okay.
We've had a couple of variations of the platform we use, but yeah, very similar to Zoom. But my very first podcast with Joanne Schinderly, we did face-to-face in Appleton, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And this is, episode number 1 was face-to-face, and now this one is as well.
Did you know you would get into the 60s, or was it, we'll do this one interview, maybe we'll do 3 or 4, see where it goes?
I never anticipated numbers. I just wanted to talk to my friends and comics I like. I never envisioned numbers.
Awesome. Well, I'm thrilled to be one of the non-comics that you invited on, so thanks so much.
Yeah, man, your name has come up several times on the podcast. There was the Drew Kennedy episode because he and I met in the Austin airport because I was wearing your hoodie, a hoodie which I wear all the time, and also you came up in the Matt O'Donnell episode because we all did that gig together.
It's outrageous.
So, yeah, your name has come up several times on the podcast.
I love Drew Kennedy. Drew Kennedy's a fantastic singer-songwriter.
He really is, and you told me, well, I mean, I met him that day in the airport, but you really hit it home that I need to listen to his music, and I did, and I loved it immediately.
For sure. Cincinnati was a song that sticks. You know what's funny? I got really into Drew Kennedy after we did a show together over 10 years ago, and it was at the tail end of when poker and Texas Hold'em was a thing. Remember in like 2004, 2005?
Dude,
Chris Moneymaker and all that?
College roommates were obsessed with poker, and I didn't give a shit because I had just started doing open mics and stand-up, so I was in a different world. But every night, I would come home from open mics late, and there'd be 10 of them in the middle of a poker game.
That's
like,
why. I was on the other side of that. I was poker guy. You know, the buddies would get together Thursday nights, do a poker game. This was a good 6-month all in stretch of just poker, and then it died out, of course. But before I had kids, and just after I got married, I was just working nights playing music. My days were open, and that's where poker became sort of a thing locally at the Pennsylvania casinos and Delaware casinos, not having to go all the way down to Atlantic City. Mm-hmm. So I would put on a soothing Drew Kennedy album on my iPod, and I would sit at the table and I would play these poker tournaments maybe once a month. I'd shoot down to a Delaware casino, and I would go and Drew Kennedy was my Texas Hold'em poker tournament soundtrack to kind of keep me chilled out.
It's good to have a
zone.
calming soundtrack for something degenerate.
I don't know. Exactly right. You got to balance the two. I don't know if Drew would have. He's like, oh wow, that's what my music does for you, huh? I'm your tranquilizer for poker tournaments. Very nice.
Well, it's just crazy, man. It's a small world. I was having breakfast at the airport, and this guy, I was wearing a Phillies hat, and so was he. And he just goes, "Is that a Tim Williams hoodie?" And I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here." It's a small world, man.
And his New Braunfels Texas drawl with slight Philly twinges.
Yep.
And Matt O'Donnell too. Matt O'Donnell, I think we can say he's a local treasure.
Oh, absolutely.
6 ABC's Matt
and
O'Donnell.
And a dreamboat, if you will.
He's a handsome man,
mm-hmm.
that Matt O'Donnell. We did an event. How did we meet? We met through mutual friends. Our buddy Matt Schultz put us on a show for a dog rescue at Bourbon Blue. Rest in peace, Bourbon Blue, in Manayunk. And Matt O'Donnell was part of it. And he ended up playing drums with us.
Yes.
And we did a couple other things here and there. Mark Teague and my band has mutual friendship with him. Matt O'Donnell is one of those local celebrities, newscasters that pops up everywhere, and you'll see him playing drums with this band or that band, or he's hosting that event or involved with that charity. He's man of the people, that man.
He told me the last time I talked to him, he told me he does not have his chops right now. He told me he would not feel comfortable playing live right now. He's been golfing a lot, so drums are on the back burner at the moment. He's like, I could fiddle and get by, but he knows it would take him a little bit to get back to his full drumming potential.
He had chops though. He
does.
We did a Weezer cover, and instead of the "Say It Ain't So," or he goes, "No, let's do My Name Is Jonas." I go, "All right,"
which is hands down one of the best Weezer songs, and also like I've seen them play that live a lot and open with it. The crowd goes nuts for that, even more so than like Buddy Holly or Sweater Song. My Name Is Jonas is
it's got
quintessential Weezer song.
It's crazy hard rock mixed with like a couple verses of James Taylor,
Also,
and then it punches you in the face again.
True, and also like I love when the crowd goes, but you're still making noise, and everybody throws their fists in the air. It's arm hair standing up. It happens at every single concert.
And I can see the arm hair standing up because we're in the same room.
Because we are face to face for this one.
You're gonna have to forgive the slurping, by the way. I'm chugging coffee. I have 3 kids under the age of 9.
Understandable.
And, I live off of it now.
So let's get into all of it, man. You and I met a couple years ago. We've had a lot of mutual friends in the local Philly music scene and whatnot. And remember, you came up to have lunch at Paxson Hollow one day where I bartend. And then you and I hit it off from there, kept in touch. And we did, I guess our first event together was that Bourbon Blue thing for the animal rescue. And then... Yes, take me back to your backstory because you've done some cool stuff and we're all going to cover that. I have a list of things here I want to bring up, but I want to hear to where Tim Williams, the musician today, you do a ton of weddings, you do corporates. Let's go back. You act, and you're very funny. You've made funny videos and all that, so you have a whole killer career going on here. Let's go back to the very beginning because that's what the podcast is all about.
Well, thanks. I think being a performer of any kind as a career, there's not one thing that you do. I mean, here you are, stand-up comedian, but we're doing your podcast today. I think music's a lot like that. You know, if you're going to play funerals, you're going to play hotel grand openings, you're going to play birthday parties, and you're going to sing Disney songs at a 5-year-old's birthday party.
We're opening a shop right up the street.
Right.
Can you play from 12:30 to 12:40?
We'll pay you in Hatfield hot dogs and a coupon to the Giant Bakery. I grew up in a house with 3 brothers. There was 4 boys. We were sports guys all the way. And then senior year of high school, I was the starting center of the basketball team. We had a good team. I remember the coach of Monmouth University, Wayne Zoke, came over to coach the team, and we were supposed to make whatever it means as a 17-year-old to make a run in high school basketball. So everyone was excited about the basketball season that year, except for me. My best friend and my girlfriend at the time, they were doing the theater, and they did Anything Goes the year before. And I went and saw it, and it was the first time I ever saw theater of any kind that wasn't some sort of 3rd grade field trip when you're younger. And here they are. I'm in this room. There's 500 people cheering for my best friend, for my girlfriend, and they're singing, and they're telling jokes, and they're dancing, doing the whole thing. It was my first experience in that world, and I realized I wanted to do that. I wanted to try that. So the next year came around, and Grease was my origin story goes back to Danny Zuko, which is I don't know if that's the douchiest thing I could say, but
fun fact: never seen Grease, and I'm 38 years going strong.
I mean, at this point,
like I'm familiar. I hear the songs. I went to grade school and high school with girls, and I think Grease was a production when I was in high school, but I have never seen the movie or saw it live.
It would be serial killer level weird if you just sat down and watched it alone at 38 now. I think you just need to go the rest of your life without seeing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've missed it.
And Star Wars.
Really?
No interest. 0.
All right, this has been great, Pat. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what though? I will meet you on the fact that
all of us have those movies that we've never seen though, where people are like, you've never seen.
But I will meet you on the fact that the gaps in my musical knowledge will astound you.
Okay.
Astound you. There are songs that I'll be playing a duo show with somebody, and they'll throw out a Beatles tune. I'll go, wow, that's a great song. Who is that? Like the Dear Prudence, I didn't know was a Beatles tune until 5 years ago.
Okay, see, that blows my mind because I could be a encyclopedia with stuff like that.
Mark
so.
Teague. So my buddy Mark Teague and I, we just played a graduation party on Sunday, and he threw out Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I am aware that that is an album. I am aware that that is a song. I know that it's a Beatles thing. But when he played the song, I go, wow, I actually, turning 41, I've never heard that song. You don't
Shit.
You don't randomly walk around Kohl's and it's playing in the background. It's not a soundtrack song to your life. You have to be
in the know,
exposed to Sgt. Pepper. You know, all you need is love. Sure. Hey Jude. Sure. You're going to hear that places. But
yeah, you're not going to hear "And Your Bird Can Sing" walking through Target.
See, I don't even know what that is.
It's one of my favorite Beatles songs, and it's a George Harrison guitar masterpiece.
Man. Which is why, like, I should not be doing this for a living.
Okay.
There are It's like you go in for heart surgery, but he didn't take the third semester on whatever he needs to know about your nervous system. Like there are just chunks of medical knowledge that he's
gaps,
missing.
Yeah. All right, so let's go
Grease.
back.
All right.
So let's go back to the theater. This is the worst part about doing a podcast with friends. The tangents are
100%
inevitable.
We're already out of time. So I quit the basketball team senior year, and I go out and I do Grease, and I get the lead role of Danny Zuko, which is the John Travolta part.
Lead role right out the gate.
Right out the gate, beginner's luck. And I think, I don't know, if I remember right, my basketball coach who was going out, he left my year before. I was working at Sports Authority at night, and I saw him in the store, and he knew that I quit the team to do the play. And he came up to me, and I remember him. He goes, Timmy, if you quit basketball now, this will be the biggest regret of your life, biggest mistake of your life. And you need people like that in your life, I think, at certain times to tell you the exact wrong thing, to fire you up and motivate you to go, no, nope, fuck you. This is exactly why I need to do this. And it turns out I wasn't going to the NBA. I wasn't going to play in college.
Exactly. I mean, I wasn't going to say that in a demeaning way, but like you and I, no, but like in all seriousness, you and I both know that. If you don't want to play basketball, you don't want to fucking play basketball.
Listen, I could dunk with a tennis ball, but that doesn't get you into Duke, you know? So I go out for the show. I have a great time. It's 3 months of my life that it changed my life. I loved it.
Now,
I was on
dove
stage.
into this cold, so you're doing acting for the first time. You're doing rehearsal after rehearsal after rehearsal. Is this? Are you enthralled by this? Do you enjoy all aspects of it?
Yeah, there was something about, and I knew nothing. I knew nothing about music. I had a guitar when I was a kid. I got a Squier Black Fender Strat. I
had a Squier Sunburst Strat, and I still have it to this day.
It's amazing. It's
30
the starter
years I've
kit.
had it almost.
I missed that guitar, that black with the white pick guard, maple neck, the whole thing. I took lessons in third grade for a couple weeks or months, and I had a guitar in the way that most kids have a guitar just sitting around the house that they never play, or they take to college and it's sitting in the middle of the dorm room so you can play Wonderwall on it or whatever. Music didn't come into my life until after college in a serious way. So I'm going into this theater production completely blind, experiencing everything new for the first time. The dancing part was totally foreign to me. I sort of hobbled my way through that. But the whole...
Oh, that's another aspect I wasn't even thinking about.
Yeah, like kickball change and a whole new thing.
Wasn't even thinking about dancing, but yeah, if you're doing Grease, you're doing everything.
Right, which is... I was not cut out for that, but it was still all part of it, and it was still fun. I really enjoyed gathering around a piano and having a music director explain the music, and here's your harmony and here's your part. And that's where I was first exposed to harmony and first exposed to melodies and what really goes into breaking down a song. And I'm like, oh my God, like it was so fresh and so new. And then the payoff, when you finally did the show, you've got 500 people clapping, which you, as a comic, I'm assuming the reason you keep going back is for that hit of dopamine every time a crowd cheers.
Immediate gratification.
100%.
I'm going to say this now, and you're going to respond immediately, and it's going to be that rush of euphoria. Hopefully.
Which is strange.
Doesn't always go that way, but that's the main goal.
Film actors, I guess, must have a very, very different experience than comics or musicians or theater actors.
Movie release and then get reviews back, and they're not always going to be positive. Yeah, I need to know right now that you like me.
And they're
right now.
They're trashing you on something you did 2 years ago.
Exactly.
Like, why did you deliver that line that way? I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember. I was in Montana on set. I don't know. So I went to college. I majored in English at St. Joe's in Philly. And
English major, nice.
Yeah, which I'm speaking it now. I guess I'm using my degree.
True.
I don't think I read it I didn't read an entire book in college, start to finish. There was so
That
much.
is a weird dichotomy,
Right?
Because you'd feel like you would pile on more.
There was so much going on at college and so many assignments and so many activities that you read what you needed to.
Now, what were you planning to do with your English degree?
I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to move to New York. I wanted to do that. And then on the weekends or in the summertime, I would go up to New York and I'd go to these open calls these Broadway open calls that later in life I realized are more or less marketing tactics.
Oh, yeah. I've done TV open calls, Last Comic Standing. I stood on the sidewalk outside Caroline's all night. Open calls are just a recipe to gather crazy people.
Agreed. And I also think it's a way to sort of save face and appease the public and have a nice marketing blast of like, hey, we're catering to the masses. You can be in the show.
Here, it could be
we're
you.
hiring nobody. Yeah.
Yeah. We already know. I did an open call audition for Last Comic Standing and waited outside Caroline's in Times Square all night. And then about 2 or 3 years later, me and a handful of other Philly comics got placed in the second round, so we didn't have to do that. And I was like, oh, they already know who's waiting in the wings.
Yes.
This open call audition is to get B-roll footage of the fucking lunatics.
100% right.
Of the crazy people.
That's so funny. Mm-hmm. They know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
But you know this
but
now.
I was also in my early 20s and brand new to stand-up, so I didn't know then either.
I went on a bunch of open calls for Rent, which was my favorite Broadway show.
How long were you in line? Was it 25,600 minutes?
525,000.
I don't fucking know the number.
That was,
but I just
if you nailed the number, but if you nailed the number, it would have been great.
I do know. What's the number?
525,600 minutes.
I was on the right track.
You just missed the 5, I think. That was that was a great pull. What I saw a joke. I hate to. Well, maybe this is sacrilege for comics, but I'm a musician, so I can say it. I saw a joke
we're all in the
on
same boat because we're going to get to comedy and music intertwinings anyway. So
there was I wish I remembered the comic's name, but I saw he popped up in my algorithm, and he was doing crowd work. He goes, "What do you do for a living?" "Oh, you work on the railroad." He goes, "What are the hours?" "All the live long day." That's pretty good.
That's really funny.
Man.
That's also like a 200-year-old reference, probably.
It's great. Anyway, I'm taking up this whole podcast telling you my origin story here. I'll wrap it up. I did theater in college. I auditioned freshman year to transfer to Marymount Manhattan College in New York, thinking I was going to go full bore New York. I got in, and I decided not to go. And I stayed at St. Joe's. I was a bigger fish in a smaller pond. I could do all the plays and one-act plays and musicals. I could write plays. I can, you could be involved in St. Joe's and not just go to some conservatory in New York and get lost in sort of this whiplash conservatory up in the
and also
Upper East
New York,
Side.
amongst a city that has 12 million people more than we do down here.
Yeah, and I wasn't ready for New York. You go to New York and there are these guys that are straight out of Juilliard and the Tisch School at NYU, and they can dance, they can sing, they can act, they've got the look, they got this, and I'm this guy that just liked singing in front of people. I liked being a ham up on stage. I had a knack for it, and I really enjoyed it, but I was nowhere near polished enough to sort of get into the Broadway world. So I graduated college after doing about 20 plays, theater productions, all that. Still have not done any music gigs at this point. I think I did an open mic once or twice. I had a guitar, but music wasn't on my radar. I moved home to New Jersey for a year.
And we're talking early 20s now?
Now we're talking a year out of college, 22. I graduated in 2004. So the 2004 to 2005, I moved home to New Jersey. I went on a couple open calls in New York. I was working at a hotel where my dad worked. I was doing front desk. I didn't know what I was floating. It was that weird early 20 depression era of just what did I just spend my last 4 years doing? Yeah. What am I going to do with my life? I was lost completely. And then I started applying to theater apprenticeships in Philadelphia. The Arden, the Walnut, the Prince Music Theater. They had these apprenticeships where you can go, get paid $200 a week, and learn all aspects of professional theater. And I got one at the Prince Music Theater for marketing. So I moved back to Philly, and I took this job, and it was $200 a week, and it was an office job, but they let me host the cabaret at the Prince Music Theater, where I would do these menial tasks during the week.
16th and Walnut, right? Is that where the Prince was?
Prince was right across from City Hall.
Okay.
So when you're coming down Market Street from 30th Street Station and you hit City Hall and you make the right to go around to go to like South Broad, right
Gotcha.
where Tower Records was. Remember Tower Records?
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
thinking of the exact right place. I just had the wrong street. Yep.
So
Spent a lot of time in that Tower Records.
yeah,
a lot
which
of time.
Is rest in peace, Tower Records.
Yep.
The land title building's there, so we worked on the 6th floor, whatever it was, of that building, and the Prince was right around the corner. Beautiful theater, cool experience. But I was rocking a desk, and I was doing a little bit of graphic design and walking around the city, and I was handing out free tickets, trying to fill theaters because nobody was buying tickets to Dreamgirls, or whatever.
Dude, I don't know if I ever told you this. I worked for Helium Comedy Club the first 5 years they were open, and I spent years handing out flyers in Center City on the exact same streets.
It's brutal.
Those, like, when the club first opened, people didn't know about it, so we're handing out free tickets to Friday and Saturday shows. Just come. Come here.
They call paper in the crowd, they say.
Paper
right?
in the crowd, or barking is a comedy term.
Yep.
So funny. I did not know that. I did the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's about it, man. So I did that, and then they gave me this gig of hosting their cabaret series. They had a little black box theater above the Prince, and these Christine Andreas and these like Tony winners from the 80s and 90s, these Broadway legends who I didn't know about until I hosted this show. I would get on stage and, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming, please give it up for 3-time Tony nominee Christine Andreas. And she would come up on stage, and I wore a tux and, single spotlight. Picture a Prohibition era speakeasy, kind of like, play me off, Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
And that again reminded me that what am I doing at a desk? This is what I want to be doing. So performing in front of people, and whatever that still meant, it kind of I got rebit by the bug. So simultaneously, while I'm making $200 a week, taking the train in from Roxborough, from Summit Park, I'm bartending and serving at night all the way out in Ambler. If you're not from Philly, a good 45 minutes from Philly.
We already have so many similarities.
Right? Like
bartending.
I want to bring
parking on
up
the
something with you. My favorite texts from you are when you get home from a long weekend on the road playing theaters, opening up for a famous comic, and then it's Monday morning and I get a text from Pat House that says, "Yeah,
Up in
so
the goddamn men's room.
Right, I'm replacing the urinal cakes." It's so
I was
great.
signing autographs
It's so
12
good.
hours ago, and now I'm...
And now you're mopping a urinal floor. So I while bartending, I was going through this stuff in my head of like, wow, I really like hosting that show. I like being in front of a crowd. I'm not loving the desk work. I'm showing up late to my job every day because I'm taking the train in after bartending till 2. Let's be fair. I was 22. I was getting drunk every night at the bar. These musicians were coming through the bar that I was playing, and I was handing them $200, $250 cash out of the register every Friday and Saturday night to play. And I had a guitar, and I was still fiddling around. I knew 20 songs. I had 1 or 2 original songs.
First riff you learned.
First riff I learned was Nothing Else Matters.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
Well, it's open. It's completely open,
Yeah.
and it's simple, right? I mean,
It sounds more intricate than it is, but I know what you mean. Yeah. Oh,
It's
a good one.
you don't even need your left hand. I think that had to be the first riff I learned. So I realized I'm paying these musicians more money than I'm making a week at the theater. So I asked the owner, Sean
In
Coyle.
1/6 the amount of time.
Right, it's crazy. Well, I think there's 5 weekdays. I don't want to nitpick, but are you living in a 6-day week?
Well, I'm just thinking like hours wise, like
That's true.
like just hours playing time. I mean,
We can edit out the ball breaking.
no,
We won't.
absolutely not.
So I'd like to say I nobly quit the Prince. I went in one day late again, and the guy that was running my department, he's like, I don't have a need for you. He's like, I can't. And to his credit, he's 100% right. I was showing up late.
I get it.
I don't want to be here either, but appreciate the opportunity. So I left the Prince, and then I asked Sean Coyle, the owner of the restaurant, if I could play Thursday nights. And he said, yeah. And he gave me, I think, $150 and a free tab. He said, tell all your bar customers to come see you. So I bought, a speaker. I bought a mixing board. I had been going to Kildare's in Manayunk open mic. It was a live band open mic, so I would get up and sing Pearl Jam Black with the band every week. They were great. So I was ready to try it on my own, but I couldn't take requests, and I had a couple originals, and I had 20 covers that I knew, and that was
so
it.
you had originals in the can already.
I had one or two.
Okay.
Not great originals.
Well, still, I mean, look at my early jokes. Some were good, some were not good, but it's still, that's cool you had originals in the can. Do you still, could you play those songs now if you were asked?
Yeah,
Or?
yeah.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
I have forgotten words and just basic melodies to some of the songs that I've recorded. Not songs that I've just written, but recorded.
No, but people will bring up jokes that are on my first album, and I couldn't repeat it now if you asked me to, because it's so far out the window, and like you develop and you get better and you stop doing that material, and people will be like, "Oh, you did this thing." It's like, "Oh man, yeah, I remember that, but I couldn't repeat it now if you gave me $100."
I'm okay with that, because I look at it like a painting. I look at it like it's art, where that was a point in your life where you wrote it, you put everything into it, but it was done. Hang it on the wall, give it away, sell it to somebody, move on to the next thing. But
People will remember it, and it's in the back of your mind. But yeah, you moved on.
Where are you in your career, people that have seen you more than once? Like, we get requests, obviously, whether it's a cover song or original song. Do you get, do that bit,
This is
thing?
a very good question, because this is something I struggle with a lot, because as a comic, I feel like it is beaten into us to have new material. Certain comics 20 years ago, Bill Burr, Louis C.K., maybe Dave Chappelle, were having a new hour every year, and that altered the mind of my generation of comics to constantly churn out new stuff. And then I will headline a show and do 45 minutes or an hour and do as much new stuff as I can, and still have 15 people go, "You didn't do Domino's. You didn't do the Wawa thing. You have jokes about your mom, but they were different last time. I like the other stuff you did about your mom." And I'm like, God. So I don't know how to gauge it.
And on one hand, it's like, well, thanks for being a fan, but
so I never know how to gauge it, because, like, okay, the Foo Fighters, for the first time in 20-something years, did not play Everlong last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There were probably so many people in the crowd that have never seen them that were dying to hear that. The Foo Fighters have played that every single time I've seen them. I would love to see a show where they'd fucking skip that. You know what I mean?
Billy Joel skipping Piano Man.
Absolutely. Paul not doing Hey Jude.
Now Paul's in the Rolling Stones?
Yes, correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Winger,
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah, Winger
was Kip
was
Winger
great.
and Paul McCartney, I believe, was their side project.
Kip.
So I don't know where to stand with stand-up, but luckily I am on the road a lot, performing in front of crowds that don't particularly know me, so I can do whatever I want.
Is
it's
that
the hometown shows to where it's like, shit, I really want to have a new 30 compared to when I did this show last year. I don't care if I have an old 30, but I gotta have a new 30.
See, that's interesting. With music, you want the crowd, at least I do, I want the crowd to know my original song. I want my regulars to be there. I want them to sing along. I want them to request that song.
Absolutely.
But if I'm a comic, I'd like the line of security blanket of, I'm in St. Louis, I don't know these people. I can break out my greatest hits that I've told 100 times.
Out of boredom. I've been bringing old stuff back. I mean, I have new stuff, but I'm bringing old stuff back out of boredom and making it more fun. Yeah. It's really fun for me.
That's great.
But you got it, like, you get like requests and stuff. So you have some like drunk chick in your face being like, wagon wheel. Like, so I'm lucky enough to where I don't have that.
Did you bring a tambourine? I did not. I did not, because I knew someone like you was coming.
I know I left my triangle in my trunk. Fuck.
You don't get the, oh, you're hilarious. Can I tell a joke? No.
No. People love to tell me jokes after shows.
But I mean during your set.
Oh,
like
no.
we live with the reality of people trying to grab the mic or wanting to sing. Can I sing with you? Like, no, thank you. I appreciate it. Do you need a backup singer? I do not. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What is the song people request from you the most?
It changes. If it's an original show, back nine. If it's a cover gig, which most are,
my mind was going to covers first.
Which is 95% of the time anyway. That is, these days, Zach Bryan and Morgan Wallen are enormous.
I know the names. I could not tell you.
I'm with you. I didn't learn their music until 2 months ago. We did a backyard barbecue, a players' end of the year barbecue for the Flyers, which is one of my favorite gigs of the year.
These kind of gigs,
so fun. It's like playing a fraternity house, and they're blowing off steam, playing Bago in the backyard, and we're playing music, and it's just so fun. They requested Zach Bryan and Morgan Wallen. So finally, if all right, if these guys are requesting it, there must be something to it. It was a hostess here and there. It was a guest here and there. Someone in the restaurant or the venue just saying, Morgan Wallen. So finally looked it up. I can't say I'm a massive fan, but, it gets the room going. So we learned one Morgan Wallen song, one Zach Bryan song, and we don't play it unless it's requested. There are certain things you just keep in your
pocket.
Exactly right.
Absolutely.
We never play Friend of the Devil, but if someone walks up and says, play some Dead, okay, we got one, or Ripple, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You get strategic to sort of. I learned a long time ago to make my job more fun and easier, really, is to be present and sort of ride the wave and let the crowd sort of dictate where the night goes. I'm not one of these guys that's going to force my music agenda onto the crowd. I find it's more enjoyable for me, less stress-free for me, and more fun for everybody in the room if we create a vibe together and we sort of don't let them take all the control and overthrow the show. We're still in the driver's seat, but I like opening it up to requests. I like playing with the crowd. I like breaking the fourth wall and just
feeling
sort of
it out,
seeing where the wave is going to take us.
And that's where it's very different from stand-up because we are a lone person on stage. We're in charge. We talk. You don't.
Yeah.
So you're basically forced to listen to what I have to say. But at the same time, if I do a chunk of this material and they're not digging it, I know they won't like what's coming next, so then I have to shift in the moment if I don't want to go down with the ship. You know what I mean?
I get that.
But then again, sometimes I do go down with the ship because it's a challenge for me and it's getting more comfortable. And, it's like, all right, they don't like this, but I'm going to double down and keep going because I want to do this stuff. I want to work on it. I have an agenda. I want to do A, B, and C. And if they don't like it, fuck it. That's still a win for me because I did it.
Have you ever emotionally crumbled by bombing so bad? In the moment, you're eating
it. In the moment, no. I've bombed so much over the years, and that's I've bombed hosting, I've bombed in the middle, I've bombed headlining. You get used to it, and you care, but you don't. Like, it sucks in the moment when you're not doing well for 45 minutes, but I can go back to my hotel and be like, well, that sucked, but it's not going to affect my sleep tonight. I'm still going to go watch Netflix in my hotel room.
Yeah.
So it does come a point where, and you only get good by having those bombs.
But I don't mean from a career, I'm going to get better from this. I mean on a human panic level. Have you been standing in front of 200 people and eating shit so bad that your brain short circuits and you just, I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna walk off stage now.
No, I really not really, because you kind of have to fulfill your time
regardless.
But I will say this: it was August of 21. I want to say maybe August of 21. We're still in the pandemic, and I got the chance to headline a club in Appleton, Wisconsin, and we had 3 shows, one Friday, 2 Saturday. Friday was great. Saturday early was great. Crowds want to come out. It's mass and social distance, but the comedy clubs are open. And then Saturday late show, 14 people, maybe 7 couples. It was easily 14, 15 people. And they were just not into it. The host had a rough go. The feature had a rough go. And they weren't on board for me. And I'm supposed to do 45 minutes. And then at minute 35, I'm like, I'm just doing my closing joke and I'm done. And I did 37 minutes. And I ran over to the manager, super apologetic. And she's like, don't even worry about it. Why subject them or me to 10 more minutes of torture? They're not laughing. I'm not having fun. But, yeah.
And the manager sees it every night of the week, too.
Absolutely.
So she gets the ebb and flow of the crowds.
It's 14 people. The bar isn't making money tonight. They all got their 2 drinks.
I really appreciate managers like that, where some nights you're playing
for what it is.
For sure. You might have 30 minutes to go in a 3-hour commitment, but there's literally nobody here, and you're just keeping the bartender here.
Absolutely.
He's got something to do. Listen, we'll cut a deal, whatever, but let's be realistic here.
Yes.
It's inconsiderate at this point to even put these people through this. Nobody wants to hear this.
Yeah. That's probably maybe only one of 2 times I've ever emotionally was like, nah, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done. So we're here in your basement recording this face-to-face, and I'm looking at your wall over there. You have pictures with the Violent Femmes and the Goo Goo Dolls and Drew Kennedy, a whole litany of people. So... And I've seen you at a 104.5 event here in Philly. So what happened in your career getting you from playing bars and whatnot to doing corporates and working for the Flyers to opening for these bands? Weezer and Spin Doctors. It's incredible.
It is, and if when I started out, playing those bars, especially quitting the Prince Music Theater or getting fired from the Prince Music Theater, and then getting my first gig in Ambler, I'm so grateful and blown away by the fun experiences that we've had along the way. And a lot of it comes down to personal relationships and people that have took a shot on me and on the band and on our ability to not mess up a gig that they put together, and they're putting us on the bill to either help us out or we need to sell some tickets for them or whatnot. So rewind the clock a little bit. I was doing bars. I guess it would have started with Radio 104.5, which is now Alt 104.5 in Philly. They hit the scene, I think they came out in 2005, 2006.
It was definitely around then because we didn't have an alternative station at the time.
Right. And I was never tied in with MMR. That's not a good or a bad thing. It's just personal connections and what you get tied into. Jackson once played one of my songs on his podcast, which is very cool. That was
Shout out Jackson, great dude.
Great guy. That was the first time one of my songs was recognized by any sort of radio personality.
Where were you when that song was played?
It wasn't played on the radio. It was played on the internet. And It was so early that I remember Jackson going, I think you're going to dig this song. My buddy Matt Santry, who produced the song, he goes, my buddy Matt Santry passed along this song, and it's called Seem to Miss, which... he goes, you can learn more about Tim at myspace.com/Tim Williams Acoustic. So that was the website I was promoting to give you a sense of when this was. 2009, I'm guessing. And then Mark Rogers at Hometown Heroes, WSTW. He does a Sunday night show, 8 to 10, where he plays nothing but local music, and he's done this for years. Mm-hmm. He had me in studio in 2009. Again, thanks to Matt Santry putting his name on the line. I produced this kid Tim. He's getting Jackson and Mark Rogers to help me out. And then 104.5 comes into the picture, and that's where if there's a break in my career, it's really because of Wendy Rollins and John Allers, formerly of 104.5. They were doing local contests to open up their birthday party over in Camden. If you're listening to this outside of Philly, every place has these PNC Bank Arts Center, type amphitheaters.
Half indoor, half outdoor.
Lawn seating, exactly. Yep. So they do a birthday show every year to celebrate 104.5's anniversary, and they bring in 10 bands, and then they open it up to a local opener. And they did this contest where it's based on votes, and for 3 years in a row, we placed in the top 3. We never won, but, we were collecting emails at gigs, and I was playing 7 nights a week and had a laptop opened up at the show and
type your information in here, and I'll blast you when I come to mine.
And every favor I could pull, reaching out to everybody, get your office to vote, and so 3 years in a row, we never won it, we never played the gig, but at the end of the third year, placing in the top 3, Wendy Rollins threw us a bone, and she let us open up for Of Monsters and Men at the 104.5 block party at the Piazza at Schmitz to about 6,000 people.
Nice.
Which was insane. We almost got rained out. It was raining that day. We almost got bumped, and then the skies parted right before our set.
Oh, what a cool...
Could you imagine? Yeah. And it's one of those gigs that I wasn't ready for, and I was so grateful that she gave it to us. I would love to get that gig back now, 11 years down the road.
I would okay, why weren't you ready?
The confidence, the band is different these days. We weren't well rehearsed. My original material wasn't. Some of my newer stuff wasn't written. Mm-hmm. My stage presence wasn't the same. My confidence level wasn't the same. I was playing an acoustic guitar with a 6-piece band, where these days I'm playing an electric guitar. All these little things add up to it's a different band
but
now.
You didn't know any better at the time, which is magic when you look back at.
But it happens the way it happens, and it's
for a reason. And
right.
Then, yeah.
So we do that show, and it's amazing, and it's 6,000 people. It's a 30-minute set, and it's a bucket list gig. You're just staring out to the sea of people, and I'm coming from bars. Remember, it's a complete mindfuck. So from there, this girl Rebecca, who works at 104.5 iHeartRadio in that world, a couple years down the road, Goo Goo Dolls was in town, and this guy Matt Schultz, who works over at iHeart, put them in a casino, and it was a they needed to sell another like 100 tickets to sell out in the last week of the show, and they didn't get there. So Rebecca called me out of the blue. She goes, "Hey, I've got this opportunity for you. I'm going to have my boss call you. Would you like to open up for Goo Goo Dolls next Saturday or next Tuesday or whatever it was?" It was a week away. So this guy, Matt, calls me, and I'm like, I think my words were, I go, "This is fucking huge." He goes, "Yeah, this is fucking huge." He goes, "What do you think? You want to do the show, try to get the word out?" And we sold about 150 tickets that week. I was playing.
Damn, that's a solid amount of people for 1 week notice, because it is hard to wrangle people when I headline a show and tickets go on sale 3 months out.
We had help. We had this. I was doing an Eagles tailgate every week for this guy Joe Simone. This guy had a party bus. He had TVs, and Tony Luke's cooking cheesesteaks, and he had like strippers showing up, and the mayor. Like it was crazy. It was insane. It was like a Discovery Channel show every week playing this tailgate. So Joe bought God knows how many tickets and brought all his friends, all of my friends and family, and they all came. So we sold about 150 tickets in the week, had a great show. And then iHeart took a liking to us in terms of a reliability standpoint. We're a reliable opener. We show up on time. We play the songs.
We're local, which is a big thing.
We don't try to take over the show. We sell some tickets. We do our job. And for us, it's a win-win because they're getting some tickets pushed, but for us, we were getting great resume credits. We were making connections. We were playing to these crowds of 1,000 people a night at these casino shows. So from there, Goo Goo Dolls went well. We opened up for Jim Blossoms, Weezer, Spin Doctors, Violent Femmes. They just started rolling in.
That's so awesome.
Because of these little personal connections along the way, and people doing, like Wendy Rollins giving us that gig to begin with, led us to Rebecca, who led us to Matt, who led us to David Farrar in Reading, who ended up booking us in Reading for Howie Day. And you just start meeting these people by doing gigs, and that's all it is.
So much of it comes down to networking. It really, and not being a dick and showing up on time.
I told my buddy Vinny this years ago. I said, "Play good songs, don't be a dick." But it's also play every gig you can. In the last week and the week coming up, we've got a charity golf outing, 4 weddings, an apartment grand opening, a couple bar gigs. Tonight I'm doing some event at a country club. We did a graduation party on Sunday. You can't go into, I know I'm preachy here, but you can't go into a career in music just thinking I'm going to be in this bubble.
Oh God!
And do this artsy thing, this one thing. You got to be open to it, all of it.
I texted you this back in March. I opened up for Dan Cummins at the Fillmore. We performed in front of 2,500 people that night. The very next Saturday, 7 days later, 12 people at an apartment complex in South Philly.
And it's wild. And everybody...
And it was not, they were not a good 12 people. So 7 days before, I'm selling merch. I'm hearing thunderous laughter from a theater on stage at the Fillmore. And then 7 days later, these 12 people did not give a shit that a comedy show was happening right in front of them.
The beautiful thing is they don't care. You're right. And you have to entertain them now. Your resume is shit. I don't care what you did last weekend. We are in this together in this moment now.
Right now, yeah. My show last Sunday was terrible. Tomorrow and Saturday, I'm at a great comedy club for 4 shows. Yeah. It's insane.
I was playing Hog's Breath in Key West, and we took a set break, and I look down and I see unrecognized number or blocked number or no ID or whatever your phone says when the number's blocked. And I pick up the phone as I'm walking off stage. "Yeah, Tim? Eddie Money. Got a second?" I'm like, holy shit. Run upstairs. We were playing, the guy, my buddy Matt, we were talking about before, he has us over. He hires Bonehead, great band.
Oh, yeah. I've seen them my whole life.
And then they fly in Eddie Money. They've flown in Art Alexakis. We're playing with Lit this summer. He gets a famous band.
Please tell me why.
The car's in the front yard. He brings these people in, and he's got a regular house. I'm not talking. He doesn't have a $5 million mansion on a hill somewhere. He lives in a neighborhood like anybody else, and he has
neighbors close by.
He has the neighbors like looking over the fence. He gets it catered. It's a normal like all American backyard barbecue. But Eddie Money is in his goddamn backyard, and we're the backing band, or Art Alexakis from Everclear, and he brings us in, and we learn the songs. This year, Lit is coming in doing their own thing, and then we're going to play after him. But this is the kind of party he throws. It's amazing. And he works in radio, so like this is his. He loves doing this. We love doing it. It's his passion, you know. Like how cool is it? Like I'm going to have a barbecue in my backyard, and Eddie Money is going to. So Eddie Money's calling me to go over the set list. Never spoken to this man before in my life. Obviously, I am aware in the zeitgeist of Eddie. You know, Eddie Money, 2 tickets to Paradise, the whole night.
Yeah, baby, hold on to me.
So he goes, "Let me tell you something, Tim. I was walking down the street and a kid playing saxophone. And he goes, I go, you any good? He goes, yeah, pretty good. But I messed up the joke. He was trying to tell me some saxophone joke. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, Eddie. He goes, all right, so I've been calling because I want to go over the set list. He goes, we got 2 tickets. We got Shaken. We got this and that. We good? All right. He hangs up the phone, and I go back down on stage. And all I want to do is tell all these people in front of me that Eddie Money just called me, and how fucking weird is that? How crazy is that? And that's like I'm geeking out over here, and no one would give a shit.
Yep.
Because it's
Did
these
you
little.
save it as Eddie Money right away?
No, because it was blocked. It was a block number.
Oh, celebrities and their antics.
It would have been a nice flex to be like, oh, look at that. Again, nobody would give a shit. It's those moments that's what blows my mind about this career. There are 99 things that are expected, run of the mill. You play the gig, you get paid, you have a good time, you meet some people, you have fun, you play some music. And then 1 out of 100 times, there's something that is so bizarre, so off the wall that you can't get in another job. Where Eddie Money is going to call you while you're at a bar in Key West to tell you a weird joke and then go over a set list.
Weird joke.
It's just I live in this career for those moments.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's stuff you can explain to your friends like we're doing right now, your other musician friends or me and my comedy friends, and it's like, holy shit, that's awesome. But just telling the general public, people don't fucking care.
And I've had other jobs. You know, right out of college, that year I went home, I wrote for the Asbury Park Press. I covered local sports. I worked since I was 14 in hotels and Sports Authority. I took a year and sold security cameras when I was getting married in 2010. Like, I've had day jobs, worked for Verizon. It was terrible. And I quit the day jobs in 2010. And since then, I've been doing nothing but music. And I'm so appreciative of this job because, by contrast, sitting at the cubicle selling widgets of shit that I don't care about, to be in my own lane doing this. And those little moments like that make me really, really appreciate what I'm doing and the choices that I've made and the people that have helped me along the way to get to the point where Eddie Money can just call me and have that hilarious 30-second conversation. All thanks to Matt, all thanks to Rebecca, all thanks to Wendy. You start winding the tape back and you realize how that one gig and you met that one guy and I met Dennis Shea at that bar, and then he introduced me to that lady who introduced me to that person who introduced me to Joe Simone. Like, you just start following the ball, and it's all because you said yes to every gig along the way.
Yes, you have to take the shit gigs along the way.
They lead to the great gigs.
They absolutely do.
And I've also made great connections at shit gigs where
Yes.
there's some golden nugget that can come out of anything.
You come off stage and you're like, man, that fucking sucked. They were drunk. They weren't paying attention, whatever. Then some guy's like, hey, man, I really like that stuff. What are you doing next Thursday? And you're like, what?
Right.
Off of that?
Right. Listen, I got this yacht off of the Chesapeake.
Yes.
You feel like doing some stand-up? I'll give you 15 grand. I'm sorry, what?
So, in your career, I personally think you did something amazing. When the pandemic happened in March of 2020, you started doing 2 live streams a week, correct? 2 a week?
Yeah, it was Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Tuesday, Saturday. And not only was that so cool because it brought your fans and local people together to watch you do 2 live shows a week, but you also started doing theme nights. And that was just one of the coolest things about the pandemic. You had so many people tune in. And I'm going to call it back. We did a comedy night here. I did stand up for your live stream. And then also, I think before we did that, you had a Pat House night where you promoted my new album, I believe. And then fans of yours became fans of mine, and they have come out to shows.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So
I've seen the crossover on.
Yep.
I like when I see in
thank
my
you.
social media feed, my friends are now your friends, and they're attending each other's shows.
Yeah.
And, thanks for being into it. Thanks for being a gamer about it.
No, that was one of the coolest things. I mean, you had so many people watching every single week, and it was cool to watch you do themes and interact with people on the chat board. And
there was a freedom, in a weird way, as odd as those shows became, and they got bizarre, and we can get into that. But I mean, it got derailed 2 years in. I mean, there were green screens and green suits and Bane masks.
I remember you texted me, I got a green screen. And I was like, oh, here we go. But we also used it for my stand-up set.
We did. We put a brick wall behind you, a comedy club sign. You were a gamer. There were some people that kind of folded their cards and turned it in when the pandemic hit and said, I'm just not going to perform. And when the dust clears, I'll go back out. But you kind of had to make lemonade.
Everybody had to adjust.
You had to. But you were up for it. And even the harebrained ideas of like, Pat, can you come over, put a green screen up? You're going to do stand-up. And I think you did 4 different segments that were like 7 or 8 minutes long.
Yeah, like 5 to 7 minutes each. And
it was a 4-hour interactive show where I would play music, I would take requests in the comment section, and then I would introduce you. There'd be an applause and a laughter track, and you would do stand-up. We edited this ahead of time, and I plugged it in.
Yeah.
You came over days in advance and had full sets. And we did like audience reaction shots in between your jokes, and there was a laugh track. And it worked for what it was at the time.
It worked for what it was, but it was also fantastic and so fun. And one of my favorite things was the Brandy episode. You bought me a shirt. We'll get to the shirt in a second. But like...
Well, let me lay the groundwork of what started.
You explain the Brandy episode.
So, when the pandemic hit, as everyone remembers, it was around... It was around St. Patrick's Day.
It was March 2020. Because I flew home on St. Patty's Day and on an empty airplane and arrived at an empty airport. That's when I knew shit was.
We had a 2-week-year-old upstairs, and I remember my gigs got canceled for 2 weeks. And one of the bars I had a monthly residency, and I go, "Cool, I'll see you next month." They're like, "Well, I don't know, we'll see." And I'm thinking, "We'll see." Like, we're taking 2 weeks off. I'll see you next month. Little did I know I wouldn't play that bar for a year and a half. Night one. Everyone started live streaming because the Dropkick Murphys were going to do a live stream on St. Patty's Day. And then every musician that I know got that seed in their head. And we all set up a cell phone camera in some corner of our room, and it was clunky, and there was no lighting, and the sound was just through the phone, and it was super awkward. For me, I stood in the corner of this basement right over there. I put a camera up there. I had to walk over to the computer 10 feet away, read some of the comments. Night one, there were hundreds of people tuning in. I made a lot of money in tips, and I thought, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the tipping aspect of it.
Night one, for every musician that I've talked to, it was amazing. Everyone was so generous. We all made hundreds of dollars night one, and you realized, oh my gosh, people are amazing. I'm going to live stream for the rest of my life. And then night two comes around, and then it's not, the novelty has worn off.
Lost its luster.
But there is a core group of 30 people that kept me going for 2 years, live streaming. Live streaming then evolved to the green screen, to special guests, to comedy night, to extreme takeover home edition, where I went to people's houses, or I had them send in pictures of their living room,
of their deck,
and then I put that as the green screen, and I was playing in your living room for 20 minutes, and then I switched the background, and I'm playing on Ray's farm in Missouri, and it's his chicken barn and behind me. And then there was a beach night, and there was a yacht rock night, and then Mark Teague and Billy Spader would come over. There were themes, and you were one of those nights. And then finally, about a year in, came February of 2021, Groundhog Day, and I heard that.
That's right. That was Groundhog Day. That
was the whole genesis of the idea.
From. Okay.
My buddy Chad Birch told me that he played an event up in Martha's Vineyard that Bill Murray was at, and he wanted to hear Brandy because it was his favorite song. So I always had it in my head that Brandy is Bill Murray's favorite song. So Groundhog Day, I went upstairs. I filmed a shot-for-shot remake of Bill Murray waking up on Groundhog Day from the movie, opening the curtains with the well, put your little hand in mine. Well, woodchuck chuckers, it's Groundhog Day. I filmed that, and then I had a 2-hour show on Groundhog Day of 2021 where I opened up the show with that video, and then I played Brandy, and then I immediately played that video, and then I came back and I played Brandy. And I played the video and I played Brandy. And I did this for 2 hours, and I slowly saw the viewership.
But you also
drop.
did it in different stylings. You played Brandy in different ways.
I did. There was a piano version, there was a ukulele version, or a guitar version, a Kings of Leon screamy version, James Taylor version. And it was like when people started realizing what I was doing about 2 songs in, it didn't take very long. It was like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like the comment section got a little angry and a little funny.
Which the angry to me is even funnier than the people that are on board.
Right, but the angry people stayed with it too, just to express their anger even more.
But one of the craziest part was you called me and you're like, I have this idea. Will you do Brandy in stand-up form?
That's right.
And you forgot about this part?
I did forget.
I
right
filmed
now.
this in my room, and I printed out the lyrics and taped them to my wall in larger font so I could see them. And I got a microphone and a mic stand, and I think I did just the first. I think I did verse, chorus, verse. Maybe chorus. I don't remember. But I did it in stand-up form.
You're like, there's a port
and
on a western shore.
And Brandy,
Or
people every day. And I'm like, and I say, Brandy, you're a fine girl. Like, what a lovely wife you would be.
And then the comment section was like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like,
But so many people loved it, though. And I love, like, I'm not a big alternative comic guy, but I appreciate it. But that was like an alternative thing you did, and you really see who gets it and who doesn't.
there's two things I miss about that. One, it was the freest I was ever creatively.
Because you're doing something fucking weird.
Totally off unhinged. It was completely unhinged. There were episodes where I did an airplane episode where I'm sitting in an airplane.
I remember that.
And I got a green screen
You
of
had the window seat.
I had the window seat, and I found a YouTube video of someone taking a 3-hour flight, and they put a GoPro out taped to their window, and they filmed the outside of the plane taking off through the clouds, landing, the whole nine. All flight. And I shrunk that video down to the size of a window, and I put it behind me. So the plane was actually flying. I had a neck pillow. I was playing guitar.
I remember the neck pillow.
I had a Sunday brunch episode where my kids were the waiters on Valentine's Day, and I was sitting at a cafe, and there were cars honking at me. There was a March Madness series for a week where we did a 64-song tournament. There was a Bane storyline with Batman where he got a package mailed to him and it exploded. I had like a pyrotechnic CGI thing happen that was terrible, like a B movie, and it didn't work. If you just tuned in a year and a half into the live streams, you'd think I was an insane person, which I might be. But if you tuned into the first 2 episodes, you're like, that's just a guy playing a guitar. Okay.
You got to watch the arc.
It was
the build.
It was the frog in the boiling water. You know, you're turning up the heat gradually. You finally get, like, by the end, it was completely off the rails. But it made sense if you were with me from the beginning.
Absolutely. And a lot of people stayed with you, and
Yeah.
you had the same viewers every week.
Which is the second point that I wanted to make, why I loved it. Aside from the creative freedom, there was this camaraderie with about a core group of 30 people that were there every night, every Tuesday, every Saturday, always in the comment section. And it was like we were all entering the same bar hanging out. Like you'd see, ta-ting, Roger's here, Jamie's here, Lori's here, like ba-bing, Nicole's there, Michelle. You'd see these names just pop up. And then, oh, hey, what's up, everybody? Oh, happy Tuesday, guys. Hey, what? And there was a sense that we were all in the same room, even though we were all sequestered in our own homes.
Yeah.
It blows my mind that happened. And you can't go back. I can't do it again. I can't start live streaming now. It wouldn't have the same urgency, immediacy.
No, but it was beautiful at the time period when it was needed.
It was a year-long snow day.
Yeah.
There was nowhere to go, you know? And I miss it for those reasons, for the creative freedom and for the camaraderie of the people that supported me. It was a special time.
Yeah.
As fucked up as it was in the world, creatively, it was a special time to sort of see what we can come up with.
Yes, and we all had to adjust. As a comic, I lost all my gigs. I was delivering food and working in a restaurant 4 days a week, and it was just 6 of us working in the restaurant, and we had such a fun year and a half. The 6 of us became even tighter. It was like nothing to do with entertainment, with music or comedy, but like it was such. I mean, the world sucked, but it was such a fun time period to work in a restaurant with 5 other people for that year in a closed restaurant.
I've read something about during the Blitz in London when people were living in the subway tunnels. There was a sense of community and there was a sense of not happiness, it's the wrong word, but taking care of each other, of contentment. It's like the days after 9/11, the months after 9/11, where everyone put the flags on their radio antennas. Everyone was nice to each other. Everyone was helping each other out.
Yeah.
I think hard times
Leads
bring
to
people together.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying us stuck at home is the fucking blitz. I'm not saying that,
Yeah.
but I'm saying that when shit hits the fan, I think it does bring people together in a good way.
It absolutely does. And speaking of bringing people together, I want to bring up two more topics before we wrap up here. Your passion project, which you just had last weekend or the weekend before, the Up Music Festival.
Oh yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You do. This is what, 3 years now?
This is the third year we've done it.
Third year. So tell us about that.
Sure. So where I live, there's this great amphitheater about a mile from here, and there's a playground. It's where I take my kids, and I see this half shell amphitheater with a slope seating, mini lawn center, beautiful music venue, waiting for a music festival. They do, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights in the summertime. They'll have a kids concert, or the local high school orchestra will play. But I see this, and I go to the township, and I say, "Hey, listen, I'm a local. Would love to throw a music festival if you're up for it." And they went for it. I said, "Give me a small budget. Everyone gets paid a little bit. No one's getting rich here. We just want to bring in 8 or 9 bands on a Saturday once a year. We got a sound guy. You guys bring in food trucks, a beer tent. We make it free for everybody, and we just have a day." And we've done it 3 years in a row. We just had it last Saturday.
And it's grown more
Went
and more
great.
each year.
We had about 2,500 people this year.
What did you have that first year? I was there the first year.
First year off and on throughout the day, maybe 800 people.
Wow, so you tripled.
Yeah, it's grown to something to where I think after 3 years now, the township, it's on their radar. You live in a town and you know that, the fair comes every May and they have Fall Fest every October. Up Music Fest, I think now is at least on people's radar in our community. We've kept it local. We've kept it to local bands 3 years in a row. I've got some ambitions of trying to get a sponsor next year and start to model it after something like the Wayne Music Fest that brings in headliners. They just had Wheatus come in to the Wayne Music Fest, which
They're still around?
they're still around. They're a name. They had a song, so it's
Dirtbag, yeah.
exactly. So I think we can take baby steps to start getting some regional headliners in. I've never asked you to do it because I can't have dick jokes in a community
Hey,
park.
I will let you know that there's more to me than dick jokes.
do the bear sign language one.
Jerk off on a bear's face. See, we're talking about requests again. It's all coming back.
Do the Airbnb one.
I have a string of shows coming up in August where I have to be clean for all of them, and I have a clean 45. I just have to really stop and piece it together. And I think it will be so fun to do a 15-minute clean set on this festival, but something about comedy outdoors and 2,000 people just doesn't lend itself to conducive.
No.
Because I just need them quiet. And families, there's going to be kids and it's going to be chatty.
There are a lot of.
But I mean, if this is an invitation, I'm still open to.
Well,
maybe do this.
we've worked together a couple times. We did that dog rescue event with Matt O'Donnell we talked about earlier in the podcast, and we did Rivet in January,
yes,
which is great.
Which would I would love to make that a thing the first Friday
of the year.
each year. That
Yep.
was so much
Totally
fun.
agree. Totally agree.
So much fun.
And we talked about it. It's a risk doing comedy and music together because you're asking a lot from the audience. You're asking.
But you and I both have the pull to where the people come seeing the show. We're gonna make it work.
I think they get what we're doing.
They totally get what we're doing because I've done a lot of shows with music and comedy together, and it has not gone well for infinite amount of reasons.
Yeah.
But I think you and I are in a position, and our followings, they know what they're getting into.
I think so, and they support it. They're into it.
Absolutely, they want to come out for music and comedy.
One big thing I'd love to promote, if we're on the promotion
Absolutely.
leg of this September 13th, my favorite album, August and Everything After by the Counting Crows. It's the 30th anniversary on the 14th of September. That came out September 14th, 1993.
Wow.
Crazy.
I got that on cassette the same day I got Ace of Base on cassette.
I saw the sign,
Yep.
and it opened up my mind.
Yeah.
I saw the sign.
All that she wants
is another
They had
baby.
some fucking
That's
catchy
a-
songs, man.
All that she wants is another baby. I mean, we got some heavy material for 1993.
I don't
there.
know if that's an actual baby or just like a partner. I don't know.
There were a lot of abortion songs in the late 90s. Brick, The Freshman by the Verve Pipe,
Yup.
which came out when I was a freshman, which was, I thought, the most amazing thing in the
Yeah.
world. What are the chances? But anyway, September 3rd, I digress.
I was trying to think of one more abortion song. I was really trying to rack my brain for one more.
Let's pretend the Ace of Base song was
So
one.
yes, Counting Crows 30th anniversary.
So we are doing a show at the Ardmore Music Hall, 500 person venue. We are doing an opening set of 1993 hits. We're not revealing what that set list is. but
Absolutely do not.
Look at the top 100, and you can use your imagination. We're going to do a 90-minute set of 1993 hits. We're going to take a quick intermission. We're going to come back and do August and Everything After in its entirety, full band. Tickets are about half sold at this point. We just announced a date switch because the Eagles home opener.
I know, I saw,
was the
and I'm
same
bummed
day.
because I can't make it.
On the new date?
I cannot do
Oh, boo.
it. I know.
Boo, boo. That's all right.
But, dude, and also, the drummer for this show, Adam Chantry, is the brother of one of my absolute best friends on the planet, comedian Chip Chantry.
Which is wild.
So it is.
The connections again.
It really is.
Which again comes back to rule number 1: don't be a dick, because your reputation is everything.
And it's just so funny. Like Chip is one of my best friends, but like I've been on vacation with his family. Like we're at that level of friendship. And then
Adam says you're over there for Christmas.
Yes, every single year. That's how close.
crazy.
And then dude, it's wild.
Adam's such a great guy. He also runs a planetarium at a school.
Yes, he
so
does.
We've gone over there and seen his presentations in the planetarium. I love people that are so multifaceted. He's a brilliant drummer. He's a sweetheart of a guy. He's a dad. He's a teacher. He runs a planetarium. Like it's brilliant guy.
It's cool to see what else is behind the curtain when people just view you as one or two things. You're like, oh no, there's a lot of Lego sets back here.
Yeah. like when your customers at the bar find out that you do stand up.
Oh, dude, I got thrown under the bus yesterday, and I was in no mood, and so I'm working, I'm just bartending, and then people were like, it was a couple that I know who were regulars, I've known them forever, and then they had a friend, another woman, and they just go, "Oh, Pat's a comedian." And I'm
Great.
like, come on, I'm fucking working. And also, you know what drives me nuts too? And maybe I'm reading too much into this.
Are we wearing the same shoes?
I believe very close.
I'm
very
sorry.
close.
The exact same shoes. Sorry.
Why are you telling strangers things about my personal life outside of work? I don't think that's fair or appropriate.
Right.
Yes, I'm a comedian. Yes, it's out there. Yes, it's public knowledge. But I'm at work. I'm at my day job. And now you're telling strangers my personal business outside of here.
Right. Pat has Hep C. Did you know that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Oh, wow.
Maybe an eating disorder. I don't know. I do want to wrap up with one more thing, and this is kind of a segment I try to close on with all my comic guests, but music is also no different. Tell me a hell gig story.
Oh, boy.
What's the first one that comes to mind when you think of an absolute fucking nightmare music gig you had?
Oh, my gosh. A lot.
You say a lot?
No, a lot. I was going to say a lot of my.
What constitutes a hell gig for a comic? A musician, a drunk crowd, people not paying attention, just too noisy in the room.
I think it's when a lot of. Can I tell you a few? 'Cause
Yeah.
I've never had an all-out. I shouldn't have booked this. This is a mistake.
Really? Not one?
I've had a lot of incidents where something goes wrong. I did a gig at Citizens Bank Park for a beer festival years ago. One of these, you buy a $50 ticket, 5,000 people show up, and you can sample beers all day, and there's 10 bands. We had Hawaiian fire spinners, breathers on after us, and their ropes broke, and the fire landed on my gear and melted all my cables. And instead of making it a thing, they just handed me a couple $100 to cover the gear to kind of like hush money it.
Were you cool with that, or were you
I was fine with it. I mean, I
still
added up.
pissed but fine with it?
I was amazed that nobody took a flaming coal to the face.
I'd rather see that than see your equipment get damaged.
Some of my one that comes to mind. Well, there's two. It's embarrassing when I get other people involved, other musicians, and I plot out a tour or I plot out this big grand idea, and it doesn't go the way I thought. And now my word is going against the reality of what this gig turned out to be.
Yes.
Two examples come to mind. One, we were out in Chicago. We were playing. We did an open mic night at Cubby Bear across from Wrigley Field, and we saw the Phillies games while we were out there. And I thought I'd book a show up in Milwaukee while we're there. So I think Kyle Herring and John Valerio. I got my buddies to travel with us. I go, come on, we'll go play Milwaukee. It'll be a big night. Do like a 3-hour round robin thing, and we'll get drunk and have fun, and the wives will come and all that. And we get up there, and we drive the hour and a half to Milwaukee from Chicago, and nobody's in the place, and the bartender says we don't even have to play. And we get up on stage, and we do like 20 minutes, and the bartender looks at us, and he's like, yeah, you can just... I'm like, okay, cool, great. And I was promoting this, online and talking it up, and what was it? It was just a bar gig close to home that got canceled, except we're in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Worst thing that ever happened at a gig was my car died when my wife and I, before we had kids, we'd hit the road in the summer and we'd take like a 2-week trip and we go, all right, let's play Wilmington, Atlanta, Missouri, Chicago. We'll go around and I'll book what I can book and we'll see the country and I'll play to 30 people here and there. And we'll have some fun. And it's our way of taking a vacation while also playing gigs.
Working a little bit, yeah.
So my car dies in Atlanta on one of these trips and I go and I play Eddie's Attic in Atlanta, which is a cool open mic on a Monday night. Very fun open mic, supportive, cool crowd. But my car died earlier that day. So we got towed to the hotel. We took an Uber to the gig. We go back. We go on the computer at night. We look up, Jeep Cherokees that are around us. And we line up an appointment the next morning. They drive the car to the hotel. They drive us back to the dealership. We sign paperwork on a car, and we hop in the car before any of the money is even cleared or the approval process has gone through. And we drive 6 hours to Murrells Inlet, South Carolina, which to the Little Beaver Bar, a biker bar. And I play 3 straight hours to my wife sitting on a lonely stool with a disco ball going and stage lights that are doing colors and way too much techno sort of color changes to an acoustic singer-songwriter.
Just keep the lights solid for this one.
With 0 people in the bar except the bartender and my wife, with all the knowledge of what the last 24 hours did to our psyche of why are we doing this? Why are we driving around the country to play to nobody while cars are dying, costing us thousands of dollars? Like that was the moment where I'm like, maybe I need to focus my energy a little more intelligently here. And spiral out from our immediate area instead of just throwing a dart at a map and going, let's see what St. Louis is like
Let's
on a
go to
Tuesday.
Branson.
Right, which we've done, and it's just like maybe if I just played 45 minutes away from home as opposed to the same 10 spots that I normally do, circle out from there and become regional rather than trying to just get those 4 people in Chicago that might follow you.
No, I totally can relate. We've all taken those kind of gigs. So, all right, September 13th, Ardmore Music Hall. Plug all your socials here.
Tim Williams Band across the board. Instagram's a big one. TikTok, it's there. I don't really do it. Facebook, Tim Williams Band. TimWilliams.com is the hub. TimWilliamsBand.com. You can find us. But just Google Tim Williams Band and you'll find us.
I looked this morning. You got a lot of shit the next 2 years.
'Tis the season.
Great, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tim Williams, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Pat.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.